Good morning everyone. Let's start with a new topic, that is shoulder impingement syndrome. Consider this to be your scapulae and this is your acromion process. There comes your humerus and then coracoid process of the scapulae, and this is your clavicle and these are your ribs. When we are talking about shoulder impingement syndrome, is nothing but your something is getting compressed. Now which is the space where it is getting compressed? Your subarachnoid space beneath the acromion. So this is your space. Any tendon which is passing through that space can get compressed, thus the name shoulder impingement syndrome. When will it happen? For an example, take the acromion to be touching the humerus. That time definitely there is compression of the tendon passing within the it's passing within the subacromial space, that is the space beneath the acromion. Coming to the content, definition, causes, types, assessment, PTRX, that is your physiotherapy treatment and operative consideration. Definition. The term was first given by Neer in 1972. Neer first found that impingement was due to compression of rotator cuff by anterior coracoacromial arch. That is coracoacromial arch, the arch formed between the coracoid process and the acromion process of the scapulae. Further development, the studies showed that reactive progression of the syndrome, that is reactive progression of the syndrome, is defined not only by your anterior coracoacromial arch but by narrowing of the subacromial space, that is what I just explained on the first slide, due to spur formation of the coracoacromial ligament, the ligament between coracoacromion, that is known as coracoacromial ligament, and on the undersurface of the anterior third of the acromion. Thus acromion is very important. On further development, we found out that acromion is very important, also the coracoacromial ligament, not only the coracoacromial arch. Coming to the causes, there are various causes of impingement syndrome. The main, depending on the causes, the main classification is primary and secondary. Primary causes are usually age related, that is due to arthritis of the joint and abnormal acromial shape. Now coming to the secondary, it is due to poor posture, instability of the joint and trauma. So these are your types. The first one, look, just concentrate on the primary. Normal SA space, that is your normal subacromial space. In secondary, they told reduced subacromial space. Primary above 40, secondary young patient below 30 or 40. Primary is associated with AC joint arthritis or abnormal acromial shape. Secondary is usually associated with any trauma or anything. Fourth one, in primary, anterior shoulder and upper lateral arm pain. So please make sure, usually in primary impingement which is due to arthritis or anything, they tend to show the upper lateral arm pain or the anterior shoulder. Whenever your patient comes with a pain showing in that region, it is primary impingement syndrome. Secondary symptoms are related to rotator cuff dysfunction and posterior capsular tightness. Operated cases of shoulder impingement have also the third point, not the fourth point in the primary. Coming to the primary again, inability to sleep on the affected side. Same thing is usually seen in the secondary as well. Primary coming to again shoulder weakness, secondary to the pain. Here in secondary we know that rotator cuff is at dysfunction. Thus shoulder weakness is due to rotator cuff dysfunction, and definitely instability is seen, joint instability and or scapular instability. Coming to the primary again. Positive Hawkins and Naes sign is definite. Secondary also we can sometimes may or may not be seen. Primary, this is an important point. Last one, that is primary subacromial decompression is very good. It decreases the symptom. Whereas in secondary, subacromial decompression here worsens the symptom. Now manually, when a patient is coming to your clinic, subacromial decompression is performed manually by a physiotherapist by distracting the joint and giving a posterior glide to the humerus. But ideally this is not done, this is just an assessment. This can be done surgically. When a patient comes, you don't know whether the condition is primary or secondary, you can distract the glenohumeral joint and give a glide on the humerus in the posterior direction, thus increasing the subacromial space. Either posterior and inferior direction will increase the subacromial space. If that is going to decrease the symptom, then the patient has primary impingement, whereas that is going to increase the symptom, definitely the patient has secondary impingement. You can modify your therapy later depending on the condition you diagnose. Coming to the common muscle getting impinged, we know there are 4 rotator cuff. In secondary impingement, what did we learn? The secondary impingement syndrome is usually caused due to rotator cuff dysfunction. But impingement, what did we learn? Impingement is nothing but compression on the tendons passing within the subacromial space. The first main tendon which is going to get compressed is your supraspinatus. Second will be infraspinatus. The teres minor and subscap is avoided. Usually they don't get into impingement syndrome, whereas long head of biceps brachii and subscap can also get impinged. Teres minor is rarely getting impinged. Supraspinatus is very common. The reason being supraspinatus is being very commonly impinged is because it has a very good rotator cuff, that is about 45 degree initially at the rest position, and it gets activated maximum of the time during your abduction, that is your 0 to 20 degree. Thus supraspinatus is commonly getting impinged. Coming to the progressive stage, nearest progressive stage of the shoulder impingement. There are 4 stages. First one normal, second stage is your edema, third one is your fibrosis, and fourth one will be your osteophyte. In normal, you can see the space is normal, that is your acromion space is normal. Second one, you can see there's a lot of edema developed. Third one, you can see the muscle has undergone fibrosis because of the continuous rubbing of the acromion. The fourth one, you can see that osteophyte is generally developed. Sorry, this normal, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Osteophyte gets developed because in order to decrease the load on the muscle, the bone starts rubbing each other. We also saw the definition given by the Neer told that coracoacromial arch, and we also know that coracoacromial ligament, if it gets it doesn't get fibrosed, if the lacerations occur on the ligament, definitely the load is more imposed on the bone, thus leading to development of the osteophyte. Coming to the assessment. Physiotherapy assessment on observation, posture of the patient will be definitely kyphotic posture or forward head. On inspection, shoulder might be dropped down due to inhibition of the rotator cuff muscle, as we saw in the secondary impingement syndrome, and asymmetry of the shoulder joint, definitely, because sometimes in rotator cuff dysfunction the deltoid is overactive. Due to this, on palpation sometimes you can feel the trigger point on the deltoid as well, but do not get confused, that is not due to your muscular weakness or anything. That is not due to deltoid hypertrophy. The main cause for all this condition is your secondary shoulder impingement syndrome. So please make sure you test Neer's and Hawkins and Kennedy and Neer's test, impingement test. On palpation, tenderness around the shoulder joint, as I told, deltoid might be working overactively. That's why you can get trigger point on the deltoid muscle as well. And I already told that there is drop down shoulder because of the inhibition of the rotator cuff. You can feel that the turgor of the muscle is decreased. Warmth is neutral, it is not warm unless the condition is in inflammation. The patient don't turn up usually in that condition. Spasm may or may not. Usually a spasm of upper trapezius is seen because if the rotator cuff undergoes weakness and dysfunction, definitely the deeper down muscle are going to get contracted in order to reduce the instability cases, thus leading to overactivity of your deltoid and the upper trapezius. So spasm of deltoid and upper trapezius, sometimes biceps brachii can be common. Range of motion, reduction in a particular range of motion because of the impinged muscle. If supraspinatus is impinged, definitely your rotations and abduction is reduced. Infraspinatus, again the same thing. Long head of biceps brachii, even the elbow motion is reduced. Subscap, internal rotation especially is reduced. Painful range of motion throughout the available range as the muscle performing the range is impinged. We already know the muscle is getting impinged, the muscle is getting weaker, it is undergoing inflammation, edema, fibrosis and whatnot in the Neer's progressive impingement stages. But painful range of motion is not common once you start the therapy. Initially, once before the therapy, patient doesn't perform any activity. He will just show the region of pain, that is your upper lateral aspect of the arm, and the deltoid region, that is your shoulder joint. But once you start the therapy, the pain is still continued. Pain continues for about 2 to 3 weeks continuously. Even I had a patient who had continuous pain, same region pain for about a month, but the range kept on improving. This is due to, that pain is due to the subacromial space can never be increased too much. If the age of the patient is reached, osteophyte development of the acromion is definite, and acromioclavicular joint arthritis is also a common factor as the age is increased. Thus, you cannot reduce that, but you can reduce the inflammation of the muscle getting impinged and give the strength back to the muscle. Thus, the range of motion is increased. Once the range of motion is attained, inflammation reduces, the pain comes down gradually. Do not expect and do not treat for pain immediately in order to reduce zero, and don't start the range of motion therapy. You have to simultaneously treat for range of motion and pain. Expect range of motion to be achieved earlier compared to the pain reduction. Coming down to muscle strength. How to assess muscle strength? If the case is a tone case, the impingement is very severe, there can be a chances of tear, definitely do not do MMT grading, do the Cyriax grading. That is impinged muscle strength and the rest muscle strength. Rest muscle strength can be carried out by your MRC grading as well. Coming to the diagnostic tests, 3 main tests: Nails impingement, Hawkins and Kennedy, resisted internal rotation. These are your special tests to diagnose whether the patient has shoulder impingement syndrome. One more thing, what is the diagnostic test to identify whether it is primary or secondary? That is your subacromial decompression test. Coming down to confirmatory diagnosis. These are your physiotherapy diagnosis. Do not rely more importantly on this, because sometimes in frozen shoulder, patient doesn't tell you that it was impinged. The frozen shoulder can be secondary frozen shoulder due to the shoulder impingement syndrome, and you start treating to the frozen shoulder, you land up with the shoulder impingement. So when you do the test, if the patient, you are confused between shoulder impingement syndrome as well as frozen shoulder, start treating, start reducing, giving the arthrokinematics to the joint, reducing the pain, increasing the range of motion. You will come back to the normal stage wherein you can differentiate it wasn't a frozen shoulder. So better to go with the confirmatory diagnosis, that is your MRI, CT and ultrasonography. MRI is used for soft tissue, CT is used for to differentiate between normal and abnormal, ultrasonography again for soft tissue. So not solely, importantly it will diagnose whether the soft tissue are affected or not. So this was your first part. Let's meet you all in the rehab part. Thank you.